So we decided in our podcast to kind of challenge the guys, and we've just always been fascinated by mini bikes, especially pit bikes, these small underpowered 125cc bikes that you can basically fart around with and use as a better way of walking when getting around a giant campsite or maybe getting around a big swap meet. And here at the shop, we started bringing in these bikes from SSR. And SSR is a distributor that's been selling these play bikes or these pit bikes in the United States market for several years now. And of all the different ones we tried out, we tried several of these Chinese bikes and they were pretty bad quality. And the SSR has managed to continuously give us a good product. So that's what we chose to go with. And the idea was, we've got these 6 or 7 guys that show up to the podcast all the time. And we thought, wouldn't it be fun if we did something with our Patreon funds? You know, we're getting money coming in from our patrons, which we love dearly. And we were trying to think of the best ways to spend it because we've got a good, decent soundboard now and we've got some good equipment. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be fun if we could get mini bikes? And we could get mini bikes and we could have them for us to play around with when we go to events like AMA Vintage Days and stuff like that. And so this idea was like, well, you know what would even be better is if we could get the mini bikes and we could build them on camera. And we could build them for our podcast listeners and our podcast viewers to check it out and see how it really comes together, one of these bikes. Because these things ship in a crate. And everyone gives you the impression that you can just, open up the box and these things just jump together for you. And there's no special assembly required. They're pretty much, Revel snap tight model kits from the old days. And they are not.
Now, a lot of people, I think, would take like the whole top off. I'm going for a strategy of taking all the bottom screws and taking everything off the top. Could be a winner, could be a loser.
Contestants are allowed to bring their own tools. I see Nick's got some power tools here, helping him make short work of extricating this bike out of its crate. Steve's using the two-handed method here, going manual, a little slippery.
And this was instantly, as soon as I brought this up, the bullshit started flowing. I mean, the bravado of, I'm sure I could build one in 20 minutes. I'm sure I could do this. I'm sure I could do that. And I thought, well, I've built about 20 of them. My mechanic Sparky, he's built about 25 of them. And we got our time down to about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And that's nominal conditions, perfect conditions, all the tools that you need are right there. So here we go, let's get this and let's build a challenge out of it. So there's rules because of COVID. You can't just have everybody sneezing on each other and licking each other's tools because COVID. And we came up with some rules, like we're gonna put everybody many feet apart. Everybody's gonna have their own 10 by 10 foot workstation they can work with. Bring your own tools, go crazy. We don't care if you wanna bring impacts or manual tools or what have you. There's really no restrictions on that, but we came up with a bunch of rules. And the rules were really there to keep guys from screwing their buddy over. And the rules were all about basically, let's just make it so that if you're good with a wrench and you can have some logical thinking, you'll have a chance at building this thing in less than an hour. That was the plan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make everybody pick their stations for the Build-A-Bike Challenge. Every workstation is the same. They're all 10 foot by 10 foot. The bikes are in the workstations. They are in crates. Their cardboard's intact. Nothing has been done to change the condition of the bike from the way it arrives from the manufacturer. To keep it totally random, the builder's gonna choose their stations from the Jawa. They're color coordinated. And first things first, we're gonna let them pick their workstation. That's not on the timer. And they're gonna take their tools and they're gonna move their tools into their workstations prior to us doing the camera setup and everything else, because we want our workers to be able to get their personal cameras. They're gonna be casting into the Zoom meeting from their workstations. And that's gonna be the secret for how we're gonna have 6 cameras. Every builder's gonna have their very own camera. And the secret behind that, what's gonna make that so much fun, is then when they're done building their bike, we're gonna grab their camera and we're gonna follow them outside to watch them starting the bike and then their test ride. And then each station will be continuous and we'll be able to maintain our 8 channels on Zoom for the entire presentation. So this way, we have every bit of it's documented.
All right, and then, so who's starting? Who's picking?
So who's gonna pick first? All right, anyone?
Let's start with age to beauty, or beauty to age.
All right. Yep. All right, so
I am black.
You are black. So where is the black bike? The black bike is in the corner by the Sean Weatherspoon Vespa. All right, so that'll be where you can move your tools into that location. All right, next, Oscar. So Nick is in black. Oscar is...
Interesting.
Oscar is orange. I can't remember, where is orange? Orange is it over there? Yeah.
Back here.
Okay, so yeah, it must be one of those, one of the ones on that side.
Okay.
So that's
Dan-
orange.
Dan
All right,
man.
Dan Kromke. Dan is picking, and Dan has
Sausage.
Oh, trade me a sausage. Fair enough.
Again?
Dan has Mr. White, so Mr. White is right here behind us. So you're in pride of place right there. You're in the best spot. Sleepy Cinch is next. Sleepy has.
I don't know. Hold on.
Okay, let's find out.
Aha! Apropos.
Apropos as
It's
hell,
green.
you've got green. All
I'm
right.
good. I'm good.
Steve Hoffert came in and he said he wanted to have us have to wear oven mitts, like have a guy wear oven mitts when he built it. Another one said he wanted to have a guy be blindfolded and have a partner telling him what he had to do to build these things. And I'm glad that we didn't work hard to make it more difficult, because these guys squeaked in an hour. The guys who were doing a great job squeaked in an hour. And the guys that weren't doing a great job, their bikes still aren't built yet. We joke, but we had a timer on the wall that was good for 100 minutes. And we really didn't want the podcast because, of course, we shot this whole thing out to the stitch. And we wanted to make sure that it was available and you could watch it in one sitting and it didn't have to be 6 hours long. So with Steve's bike, actually, this bike right here, we kind of gave up on it because when we went back and saw how wrong it was assembled, we just said, screw it. We can't hold this up any longer. And you know, he'd put a lot of effort into it too. He had bingo sheets made for like every time somebody drops a wrench or kicks a wrench or somebody falls over, bingo card thing. So there was kind of a lot of gambling, if you will, going on about who was going to be fastest and who was going to be the slowest. And it turns out that it was really about being methodical. It was really about understanding the way these go together. And in every other motorcycle in the world, you build the motorcycle and then you put the side panels on like last thing. Hurrah, I'm done, you put the side panels on. And on this thing, you gotta put the side panels on at like phase 2 or phase 3. They go on pretty quick, pretty early in the build, and they actually, the whole bodywork comes off, you attach everything and then you put it together. These are things that Sparky and I knew were gonna catch people up. We knew right off the bat they were gonna have to put these things together, and then that was gonna screw them up. And boy, did it screw them up.
Johnny's back in Bride Red territory here, taking care of Fastener Town.
I had to rebuild my rear. I didn't put my side panels on right. A job done right is a job done once. And I'm doing it again.
These guys were so proud, and they had this like sense of energy going into it. But then as we got closer to go time, it got really, really quiet. You could hear a pin drop in here and just buttholes just slamming shut all over the room. And all these guys that were like, yeah, I'm gonna have a drink, and I'm gonna have a beer, and I'm gonna smoke, and whatever, and it's gonna be great, it's gonna be a chilled out thing. No, man, they were all like, zip the lip, quiet, business only at that point.
I'm here to create penalties and hurt people's feelings on these things.
And it was fun walking around and seeing everybody because some people were taking different approaches. Now, a little insider tip, if you leave the thing in the crate and leave the front axle bolted to the crate and you save that for like the very end, then the crate holds the bike together and you don't have to wrestle with the bike. And then at the very, very tail end, you call your helper over, and that's when you literally can unbolt the bike from the crate. The helper will lift up the front of the bike and you can slap the wheel on and slap the rear shock in. You'll need your helper for maybe 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Well, the helper concept was Chris Smith running around, and he was literally available to anybody who needed him for 5 minutes.
Chris Smith, you want to come help me?
Yeah. If you want it, I'm here.
I'm going to try to get this front wheel on. I think I'm
We're
going
ready
to
to start 5 minutes. You got a 5-minute timer right here.
All right,
tell me what to do. You want one?
I'm going to try to hold up on
He also could bring you tools if you needed tools. And the funny thing was, John McElfresh is the only guy that used the helper, the only guy who called in the help. And having built a bunch of these, I will tell you, I've never built a single one that I didn't take advantage of the fact that I could call James or Renee over and hang on to a thing or hold something up while I slap an axle bolt through. The brakes on these things are devilish. The brakes are just evil. There's a brake wedge that keeps tension on the master cylinder. Oh man, is it mean. And that's in there holding pressure on the system. And then down in the caliper between the pads, there's another wedge jammed in there, a spacer. So these things are shipped with pressure on the system. And if you think you're gonna be cool and you're gonna pull one of those, like the bottom wedge out, those brakes are gonna collapse instantly. And that's gonna cause you a major pain in the ass because now you get a screwdriver in there and pry the brakes apart again. So there's things that we've learned, like take the wedge out first, relieve the pressure on the brakes, and then go ahead and take the wedge out of the bottom. You'll be good to go. Not a big deal. So there's definitely techniques for getting the thing put together right, but these guys didn't know that. Now I'd heard these guys were watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out the right way to do it. Now Sleepy has built the Grim. So you want to talk about odds. The odds on favorite coming into this thing. McElfresh, because McElfresh has built hundreds of bikes. He's the freaking Honda whisperer, for Christ's sake. People were thinking John McElfresh had this thing locked up. Hoffert, because Hoffert has built every kind of motorcycle in the world and he's super, super careful. So people were voting heavy on him. Nick Divitto's an engineer. He's very meticulous. He's very careful. He brought his own freaking leather apron, for fuck's sake. So, you know, he had his shit together. And everybody kind of had a thing. And Kromke, he's a very quiet, you know, he's a sneak up on you kind of thing. He's probably really good because he's also very thorough. So this was it. Everybody kind of had their odds on favorite. The only person nobody actually bet on, I don't think anybody bet on Oscar, which is hilarious because Oscar's built several 50s and 60s vintage scooters from Italy and Japan and Germany. Like Oscar actually has worked on a lot of devious, weird, from different countries stuff. And when it threw down, when you see these guys building these bikes, the stress, the sweat coming off of these guys is insane.
Any comments, Sleepy?
I'm sweating.
We turned the thermostat down.
No, it's way more work than I anticipated.
Uh-huh.
And I'm out of shape, and now I'm going to get in shape starting next week because of this.
And the amount of just like, I really can't figure out how it goes together, so I'm just gonna wing it. And that's why I think every single builder, we gigged them on something. The bikes had to go back in because they weren't put together correctly. And there are no instructions. Man, there's no instructions. This is just go at it. We didn't take the instructions out of the box. The boxes were hermetically sealed. We didn't screw with these guys. They screwed with themselves. It was just the circumstances. That was it. But yeah, there are no instructions, and there's no like this part goes here or that part goes there, or you should have so many. This isn't IKEA furniture. This is motorcycles from China. And it's funny. It's funny to know going into it how cocky everybody was, and then when you watch the video and see just how silent everyone is. The sweat, you can hear people perspiring. It's pretty funny. Then blood loss. I didn't expect there to be so much bleeding. I honestly thought maybe, a little hangnail kind of thing. But no, 10 minutes in, we walked by and Hoffert's got like 9 inches of blood running down his leg. It's crazy. I think he might have pre-gamed, so he might have had thin blood going into it, maybe. There's things like that, but more than one guy was bleeding by the time it was all said and done. So it's a fun challenge, it really is. And this is the kind of thing that it really does make you stick your money where your mouth is, so to speak. We took the bikes outside, we let them ride the bikes around. That was a big part of it, was getting the test ride. So getting the bikes outside, making the guys fire the bikes up, get gas in them, making sure they idled, let them take a brief test ride, go through all 4 gears, come back in and see if the bike could sit and idle under its own power. Again, everyone did great on that. Oscar, I don't think has ever kickstarted a dirt bike before. This could be a first thing for Oscar. And so with any dirt bike, but these 125s actually have a pretty decent amount of compression to them. The Oscar did not, he was kicking them like a Vespa. He wasn't kicking them like a dirt bike. And a dirt bike, you gotta kick it from your shoulder. And a Vespa, you kick it from like your tank. You just give it a little and it goes. But on this thing, you gotta really get up there. And he wasn't really climbing on top of it and jumping down. So I think Oscar may have given the bike something like, we can count, but I think he gave it like 18,000 kicks and it eventually fired right up. And then he took off and there was some question about where neutral was, because on these, the neutral's all the way in the basement. then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 going up, which is not the way most motorcycles are. Most motorcycles are 1 down, neutral, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 going up. So yeah, it was a challenge. Calling this thing the Build-a-Bike Challenge, BBC for short, we really, really nailed it. And I would love to do more of it. I'd love to do more of the same. I'm glad that it didn't take longer. I'm glad that we were able to finish it in the somewhat timely fashion that we did. I'm glad that we had Sleepy and Nick were so close in the time that it just came down to penalties that evened things out. And for anybody watching would have thought Nick was running away with it and had it, because he was out the door minutes ahead of Sleepy.
So Nick, what's your status right now?
I think I'm done.
You think you're done?
So I've been scrutinized multiple times by multiple people.
And your area has been pronounced clean. It is extremely clean.
I have pronounced it clean.
Well, I believe it's clean. So is your timer running or not?
I don't think so. Renee, is my time running? Okay.
Okay, so I'm not going to be the one to fully judge you winner, but it sounds like you're the winner. Nice job.
Thank you very much. Second place, I think.
Yeah.
Nick, did you get first? Did you pick up all your stuff? Yeah. Then you got first. Hell yeah.
All right, Ween, so tell us what's going on here.
So right now we got 6 guys building motorcycles. All 6 of them think that Nick won. Well, that's not true. Nick lost by like 2 minutes against Steve Cinch. So
There's just some
yeah,
there's a secret reveal happening in the end.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody reacts to it.
But that's where penalties can get you. And having to go back in, the penalties that Nick had to address, the things Nick had to fix, all took a really long time to fix. The stuff that Sleepy had to fix was super minimal. So he was able to make his repairs really, really quickly. Whereas Nick had to take the entire body section off the bike again. And he had to do a change, I think, on the back suspension as well. So there were some pretty heavy duty things for Nick to do, and there were some pretty light duty things for Sleepy to do. And it was a blast. We had a great time.
Okay, in 6th and last place, with a time of the clock literally stopped running. Not joking, the clock ran out. With 99 minutes, 59 seconds, and 99 100ths of a second.
3 other people had to help him finish.
Is Steve Hoffert with a time of his bike still not done yet. Not only is his bike not done, he hasn't taken his first test ride yet.
Test drive? I just want to say I called that on Tuesday.
What's that?
I just want to say I called that on Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. Hoffert rode it. Sorry, Hoffert didn't ride.
Right.
Yeah.
John McElfresh
Oh.
with a time, after much consideration and many penalties that were not issued and many things that were allowed to slide, came in at 89 minutes and 58 seconds. Woo! Daniel Kromke put himself into amazing position because he had the cleanest build in the room. We scrutinized his build.
Yeah.
We scrutinized his build. He started with his fucking handlebars on backwards. And yet, after starting with his handlebars on backwards, he rallied and made the cleanest build in the room. I gotta say, well done. All right. Oscar, astonishingly well executed at 82 minutes, 39 seconds. For reals, had to take his entire brake assembly off and reroute it so that the hose was going in the right direction. Oscar, well done, 3rd place. Good job, Oscar.
By the way,
Yes.
I think Hoffert's brake thing is in the wrong direction.
It is,
Still.
however, he made a good argument for why it is that way.
Why?
Because it's less likely to get wound up in the front wheel.
And it doesn't sound when does it ever happen?
Again,
I think it's smarter.
honestly, I would ride.
Okay.
So I'm
right.
okay with it. Are we? Do you want to put him in 7th place?
No.
Then go fuck your head. That's it. Right. If you want to penalize him, we'll add some time. All right. You know what? We can get together later and fix that.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Number 2. Everyone likes a good deuce. 72 minutes and 22 seconds. Nick Divitto. Nick started strong. Nick was the first one out on the firing line. Nick went out and had his shit running remarkably, but what killed him was the fucking little annoying penalties. Like the little things that were wrong. He got killed in the scrutineering. That's what wiped him out. There were things that he had to do that took a long time to do. And that's what fucked him over. Because Cinch, who's number one, only 50 seconds. So, realistically, we did penalize Cinch for lost hardware.
Yeah.
So he did get penalized if he would not have lost some parts to his bike.
I didn't lose them. They didn't come in the bike.
Here we go.
Everyone else had those parts. So anyway, what's shocking is it did come. Oh wait, did you find the offending hardware?
Yes.
6
points.
I think that counts.
Penalized. 7 seconds.
I'm gonna say you can take 30 seconds and still win. So honestly, for what it's worth, Sleepy, well done. He knocked it out of the park. You guys all did great.
I was honestly surprised that Oscar got done so quickly and that Kromke got done so quickly, even though Kromke started by putting his handlebars on backwards. It happens. Never happened to me, but apparently it happens to people. Oscar was just thrilled. When he realized he was in the hunt, he was just ecstatic. And remember, those guys were out the door before McElfresh, and they were out the door before Steve Hoffert. That's fucking saying something, right? So really well done. The guys showed up and they did a beautiful job. They really did. We're looking forward to doing something similar to it again, because with Cleveland Moto, we believe in shenanigans. We believe in challenges. We believe in kind of that competitive half-assedness that we like so much. And we like that. It keeps us sharp, if you will. So if you guys enjoyed it, let us know. Give us challenges. Maybe there's things you'd like to see us try to do and screw up horribly, because I think we're ready for another one.
So how was it to be a referee on this amazing competition, sir?
Challenging.
Yeah. Do you think you're
A lot
gonna?
of fair play, though. I will say that.
So do you feel that you kept the game equal for everybody?
As well as we could, except for someone that we all know and love,
Yeah.
who will remain nameless.
Right. So how many penalties do you think you've administered tonight?
37.
37?
Yeah.
Excellent.